Question 1. Who is primarily responsible for managing the product backlog, including its content, availability, and ordering? A. The Scrum Master. B. The developers. C. The product owner. D. The stakeholders. Answer: C. The product owner. The product owner is solely accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team, and this accountability is fulfilled largely through effective management of the product backlog. This includes defining product backlog items, ordering them to best achieve goals, and ensuring they are transparent and understood by the developers. For example, if a new feature request comes in, the product owner decides where it fits into the product backlog based on its value and priority, not the developers or Scrum Master. Remember, the product owner is the voice of the customer and business, guiding the product's direction through the backlog. Question 2. What is the main purpose of the sprint retrospective? A. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. B. To discuss what will be done in the upcoming sprint. C. To plan work for the next 24 hours. D. To plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness. Answer: D. To plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness. The sprint retrospective is an opportunity for the Scrum team to inspect itself and create a plan for improvements to be enacted during the next sprint. Its purpose is to improve the team's processes, tools, and relationships, enhancing how they create value and their overall effectiveness. For instance, if the team notices frequent communication breakdowns, the retrospective is where they devise a new communication strategy. Think of it as the Scrum team's dedicated time for continuous self-improvement, focusing on how they work rather than what they are building. Question 3. Which of the following best describes the Scrum Master's role? A. To manage the team's performance and ensure tasks are completed on time. B. To facilitate Scrum events, coach the team, and remove impediments. C. To represent the stakeholders and define the product vision. D. To write code and create the product increment. Answer: B. To facilitate Scrum events, coach the team, and remove impediments. The Scrum Master is a servant leader for the Scrum team, fostering an environment where Scrum is understood and enacted. Their key accountabilities include coaching the team in self-management and cross-functionality, helping them focus on creating high-value increments, and ensuring all Scrum events are positive, productive, and kept within their time boxes. For example, if the team is struggling to agree on a sprint goal, the Scrum Master would facilitate the discussion rather than dictate the goal. Remember, the Scrum Master supports the team, the product owner, and the organization in adopting and living Scrum. Question 4. What is the time box for the daily Scrum? A. 30 minutes for a 1-month sprint. B. 15 minutes for a 1-month sprint. C. 15 minutes, regardless of the sprint length. D. It varies based on the number of developers. Answer: C. 15 minutes, regardless of the sprint length. The daily Scrum is a 15-minute event for the developers of the Scrum team. It is time-boxed to 15 minutes to encourage brevity and focus on progress toward the sprint goal. This fixed duration ensures efficiency and prevents it from becoming a lengthy status meeting, regardless of whether the sprint is 1 week or 4 weeks long. For instance, even if a team has a complex sprint, they must still manage their discussion within 15 minutes, perhaps by deferring detailed problem-solving to separate follow-up meetings. This consistent time box helps the developers regularly inspect their progress and adapt their sprint backlog. Question 5. What are the 3 pillars of empiricism upon which Scrum is founded? A. Planning, execution, closure. B. Transparency, inspection, adaptation. C. Requirements, design, testing. D. Vision, strategy, tactics. Answer: B. Transparency, inspection, adaptation. Empiricism asserts that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed, and Scrum embodies this through its 3 pillars. Transparency ensures that all aspects of the process are visible to those responsible for the outcome, allowing informed decisions. Inspection involves frequently checking the progress towards agreed-upon goals to detect undesirable variances. Adaptation means adjusting the process or the product as soon as possible to minimize further deviation. For example, regularly reviewing the increment at the sprint review, inspection, allows the team and stakeholders to see progress, transparency, and make necessary changes to the product backlog, adaptation. Question 6. Who is accountable for ensuring that the sprint goal and the definition of done are understood by everyone on the Scrum team? A. The Scrum Master. B. The Product Owner. C. The developers. D. The entire Scrum team. Answer: A. The Scrum Master. The Scrum Master serves the Scrum team by ensuring that the Scrum Guide is understood and enacted, which includes ensuring that the team understands and adheres to the sprint goal and the definition of done. While the team collaborates on these, the Scrum Master is specifically accountable for facilitating understanding and adherence to Scrum's rules and artifacts. For example, if the definition of done is vague, the Scrum Master would facilitate a discussion to clarify it, ensuring everyone aligns on what done truly means. The Scrum Master helps foster transparency and common understanding across the team regarding these critical agreements. Question 7. What does the term self-managing mean for developers in a Scrum team? A. They decide who joins or leaves the team. B. They manage their own work and the organization of the sprint. C. They are responsible for defining the product vision. D. They prioritize the product backlog items themselves. Answer: B. They manage their own work and the organization of the sprint. Self-managing developers decide how to turn product backlog items into a done increment during the sprint, encompassing who does what, when, and how. This means they internally organize and manage their work to best achieve the sprint goal without external direction for their specific tasks. For example, rather than a manager assigning tasks, the developers collectively decide which team member will work on a particular item based on skills and capacity. This autonomy empowers the team to be more efficient and responsive to challenges, fostering a sense of ownership over their work. Question 8. When is the sprint backlog created? A. During the daily scrum. B. During the sprint review. C. During sprint planning. D. Before the sprint officially begins. Answer: C. During sprint planning. The sprint backlog is composed during the sprint planning event, which marks the official start of a sprint. It is the plan for the developers to deliver the increment, outlining the product backlog items selected for the sprint, the plan for delivering them, and the sprint goal. For instance, if the sprint goal is to implement user authentication, the developers will pull relevant items from the product backlog and detail the tasks required to achieve that goal within the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog serves as a highly visible, real-time picture of the work the developers plan to accomplish. Question 9. What is the primary purpose of the sprint review? A. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. B. To discuss what will be done in the upcoming sprint. C. To plan work for the next 24 hours. D. To identify ways to improve the Scrum process. Answer: A. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. The sprint review is a working session where the Scrum team and stakeholders collaborate on what was done in the sprint and what has changed in their environment. Based on this, attendees inspect the increment, which is the done product of the sprint, and adapt the product backlog. For example, if a new feature developed during the sprint receives negative feedback, the product owner might reprioritize or remove related items from the product backlog. It's a key empirical event for gathering feedback and ensuring the product is evolving in the most valuable direction. Question 10. Which of the following is a key characteristic of a Scrum team? A. They are managed by a project manager. B. They are organized around functional silos. C. They are cross-functional and self-managing. D. They receive instructions from external consultants. Answer: C. They are cross-functional and self-managing. A Scrum team is designed to be cross-functional, meaning all the skills necessary to create value are within the team, eliminating the need for external dependencies for core work. They are also self-managing, meaning they internally decide who does what, when, and how, without being directed by others outside the team. For example, a Scrum team would have developers, testers, and designers integrated into one unit, rather than having separate departments responsible for each function. This structure promotes efficiency, flexibility, and a shared sense of ownership over the product. Question 11. What is the product goal? A. The ultimate target for the Scrum team to achieve within one sprint. B. A long-term objective that guides the Scrum team. C. A detailed plan for the next 24 hours of work. D. The total sum of all product backlog items. Answer: B. A long-term objective that guides the Scrum team. The product goal describes a future state of the product which can serve as a target for the Scrum team to plan against. It is the long-term objective for the Scrum team, providing a North Star for product development, and the product backlog defines what will fulfill the product goal. For instance, a product goal might be to make our e-commerce platform the fastest on the market for order placement, which would guide the product owner's ordering of the product backlog. The Scrum team focuses on one product goal at a time, working towards it over multiple sprints. Question 12. What is the purpose of the definition of done? A. To limit the scope of the sprint. B. To determine when the increment is ready to be released to users. C. To provide a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. D. To identify which team members are responsible for specific tasks. Answer: C. To provide a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. The definition of done is a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product, providing a shared understanding of completeness and quality. It creates transparency by ensuring everyone knows what done work entails, fostering quality and consistency across all completed product backlog items. For example, if done includes tested and code reviewed, then any feature presented at the sprint review must have met those criteria. This definition ensures that increments are potentially shippable and maintain a high standard of quality. Question 13. Which Scrum value emphasizes showing courage to do the right thing and work on tough problems? A. Commitment. B. Focus. C. Openness. D. Courage. Answer: D. Courage. Courage is one of the 5 Scrum values, signifying the importance for the Scrum team to do the right thing, to work on tough problems, and to speak up even when it's difficult. This includes the courage to raise impediments, to say no to unreasonable demands, and to challenge the status quo for the betterment of the product and team. For example, a developer might need courage to tell the product owner that a requested feature is technically infeasible within the sprint. Embracing this value helps the team maintain integrity and deliver true value. Question 14. What happens if the Scrum Master is unable to resolve an impediment for the developers? A. The developers must resolve it themselves. B. The Scrum Master escalates it to the product owner. C. The Scrum Master continues to work on its removal and alerts others as needed. D. The sprint is immediately cancelled. Answer: C. The Scrum Master continues to work on its removal and alerts others as needed. The Scrum Master serves the developers by removing impediments to their progress. If an impediment cannot be resolved immediately, the Scrum Master continues to work on its removal, which may involve seeking help from outside the Scrum team or escalating it within the organization. The Scrum Master's accountability is to ensure impediments are addressed, not necessarily to resolve them single-handedly. For instance, if a necessary software license is delayed, the Scrum Master would continuously follow up with the vendor and alert management to the impact. The goal is to keep the developer's progress unblocked. Question 15. What are the 3 Scrum artifacts? A. Product Backlog, Sprint Backlog, Increment. B. Product Vision, Sprint Goal, Definition of Done. C. Daily Scrum, Sprint Review, Sprint Retrospective. D. Requirements, Design, Test Plan. Answer: A. Product Backlog, Sprint Backlog, Increment. The 3 Scrum artifacts are essential components that represent work or value, designed to maximize transparency of key information. The product backlog is an ordered list of what is needed to improve the product. The sprint backlog is the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, plus the plan for delivering the increment and the sprint goal, and the increment is the concrete stepping stone toward the product goal. These artifacts facilitate empiricism by providing clear points for inspection and adaptation. For example, the increment shows what has been completed and is ready for review. Question 16. What is the primary purpose of a sprint goal? A. To define the specific tasks for each developer. B. To provide the developers with a clear objective for the sprint. C. To list all the product backlog items to be completed. D. To serve as a contract between the product owner and the developers. Answer: B. To provide the developers with a clear objective for the sprint. The sprint goal is the single objective for the sprint, crafted during sprint planning, and it provides flexibility in terms of the exact work needed to achieve it. It helps the developers understand why they are building the increment and guides their decision-making throughout the sprint. For example, if the sprint goal is, enable users to log in securely, the developers can collectively choose the best way to implement security features, even if the initial plan changes slightly. This goal fosters coherence and focus, ensuring the team is working towards a unified objective. Question 17. Who attends the sprint planning event? A. The product owner and the developers only. B. The Scrum Master and the product owner only. C. The Scrum team, Scrum Master, product owner, and developers. D. The Scrum team and key stakeholders. Answer: C. The Scrum team, Scrum Master, product owner, and developers. Sprint planning is a collaborative event attended by the entire Scrum team, which consists of the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the developers. The product owner provides insight into the product goal and proposes product backlog items for the sprint. The developers select items and plan the work, and the Scrum Master ensures the event is positive, productive, and kept within its time box. For instance, the product owner might present the highest priority items, and the developers will then collectively decide which ones they can done within the sprint, creating the sprint backlog together. Question 18. What does it mean for the product backlog to be ordered? A. Items are prioritized by the highest paid person's opinion. B. Items are listed alphabetically. C. Items are arranged by value, risk, necessity, and dependencies. D. Items are ordered by the amount of effort required to implement them. Answer: C. Items are arranged by value, risk, necessity, and dependencies. The product backlog is a dynamic, ordered list of what is needed to improve the product, with the ordering primarily based on maximizing the value of the product. This means considering various factors such as value, importance, dependencies, and risk. For example, the product owner might order an item higher even if it's smaller, because it unlocks a significant business opportunity. The product owner is accountable for this ordering, continually refining it to reflect the most current understanding of what is most impactful for the product. Question 19. What is the accountability of developers regarding the definition of done? A. To ensure the definition of done is met for each increment. B. To create and maintain the definition of done. C. To approve the definition of done proposed by the product owner. D. To communicate the definition of done to stakeholders. Answer: A. To ensure the definition of done is met for each increment. Developers are accountable for adhering to the definition of done, ensuring that every increment they produce meets its criteria. This commitment to quality is crucial for transparency and for delivering a truly done and potentially shippable product. For example, if the definition of done states all code must be reviewed by another developer, then the developers are responsible for ensuring this review happens for every piece of code before it's considered done. This ensures consistency and quality in their output. Question 20. When is a new increment created? A. Only at the end of every release cycle. B. Every time a product backlog item is completed. C. At least once every sprint, by the end of the sprint. D. Whenever the product owner requests it. Answer: C. At least once every sprint, by the end of the sprint. A new increment is produced at least once every sprint, and it consists of all the product backlog items completed during that sprint, along with the value of all previous increments. It must be done according to the definition of done and be potentially usable or shippable, regardless of whether the product owner chooses to release it. For example, if a team has a 2-week sprint, by the end of those 2 weeks, they must have a new, integrated increment ready for inspection. This consistent delivery helps ensure continuous progress and provides regular opportunities for feedback. Question 21. Which of the Scrum values is reflected when the Scrum team and its stakeholders agree to be open about all the work and the challenges with performing the work? A. Focus. B. Respect. C. Openness. D. Commitment. Answer: C. Openness. Openness is one of the 5 Scrum values, emphasizing that the Scrum team and its stakeholders are open about all the work and the challenges with performing the work. This fosters an environment of trust and transparency, allowing issues to be addressed promptly and effectively. For instance, if a developer admits they are struggling with a complex task, this openness allows the team to offer support or replan, rather than letting the problem fester. Practicing openness helps reveal necessary information for inspection and adaptation. Question 22. What is the primary method for the Scrum team to manage dependencies within their work? A. By creating detailed Gantt charts. B. By relying on a separate project manager to coordinate. C. By becoming cross-functional and self-managing, reducing external dependencies. D. By outsourcing dependent tasks to other teams. Answer: C. By becoming cross-functional and self-managing, reducing external dependencies. Scrum teams are designed to be cross-functional, meaning they possess all the necessary skills to create an increment without relying on external parties. This inherent characteristic significantly reduces internal and external dependencies, making the team more autonomous and efficient. For example, instead of waiting for a separate QA department, the developers within the Scrum team are responsible for quality assurance. While not all dependencies can be eliminated, the core design of Scrum aims to minimize them, empowering the team to deliver value independently. Question 23. Who is accountable for the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team? A. The Scrum Master. B. The developers. C. The product owner. D. The project manager. Answer: C. The product owner. The product owner is solely accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team. This involves ensuring the product backlog is effectively managed, with the most valuable items prioritized and understood. For example, if the product isn't gaining market traction, it's the product owner's responsibility to reassess the product strategy and adjust the product backlog accordingly. Their deep understanding of the business and customer needs guides the team towards creating the most impactful product. Question 24. A Scrum team has just finished its sprint retrospective. What is the immediate next step? A. Start the daily Scrum. B. Conduct the sprint review. C. Begin sprint planning for the next sprint. D. Release the increment to production. Answer: C. Begin sprint planning for the next sprint. The sprint retrospective formally concludes a sprint, and immediately following it, the next event in the Scrum cycle is sprint planning, which kicks off the subsequent sprint. This sequential flow ensures a continuous rhythm of planning, executing, reviewing, and adapting. For example, if a sprint retrospective ends on a Friday afternoon, sprint planning for the new sprint would typically begin the following Monday morning. This structured sequence helps maintain the consistency and predictability of the Scrum framework. Question 25. What is the primary reason for timeboxing all Scrum events? A. To allow for more flexibility in the schedule. B. To ensure that stakeholders are always present. C. To focus discussions and ensure productivity. D. To strictly control the team's workload. Answer: C. To focus discussions and ensure productivity. Timeboxing, or setting a maximum duration for each Scrum event, helps ensure that events remain focused and productive. It creates a sense of urgency and prevents discussions from spiraling off topic, ensuring that the Scrum team gets through necessary work efficiently. For example, the 15-minute daily Scrum forces developers to concisely update on progress and quickly identify impediments, rather than engaging in lengthy problem-solving. This discipline fosters respect for everyone's time and keeps the overall sprint flowing smoothly.